Okay, so let's start another new metric part. So we're going to have a look at completing the SOLIDWORKS Education Lesson 2 part, which we kind of did in class as well. So isometric, and have a little look at your work planes. Which one's the one I'm looking for? Well, I'm looking for the top plane. I'm going to do the base of this first. So top plane, edit sketch, and I'm just going to draw a rectangle. So call a rectangle on that one. So it's 70 by 40, so roughly. See, I don't pay great attention to it. So that one's 70, and this one's going to be 40. Isometric, and then we can extrude my part, and it's going to come up 20. Edit a sketch on the top plane, go normal 2, and this time I'll just pop a little circle on there. Just get it in there, hopefully. And a couple of things we could do here. This one's in the center face of this, so it's always, if your design intent is that you always want it to be in the center. You know, I could put a dimension in 20 mil, but then if I go and change the width of this block, that'll kind of throw this off to the side. So one thing you might kind of consider doing is this little construction line. So we'll use this a fair little bit. If I go normal 2 again, and if you see my little relation, midpoint relation there coming on, so that's the little midpoint relation. If I fix that to that, and just come straight down. Okay, so long this is, so just come down part of the way. We're going to dimension that, and if I pop a dimension on that line, and oops, sorry, it's the other way, isn't it? Sorry about that. So the dimension is actually given to me from here, so let's not change our design intent. So that's 50. So we've dimensioned that down 50. So it's, you can see that line's fully defined now. It's fully black. Even the little dots at the end are black as well. And then I hit my escape key. If I grab the center dot of that and just pop it on the end, you see my little relation, and I snap that to the end of that. Pop in my dimension then for the diameter of that, and that's going to be 20 diameter, and that's that fully defined, and I could do an extruded cut on that. So we'd use that if you wanted to kind of tie that into the center of that block. So your design intent, like I say, is that holds always in the center. You do something like that rather than pop a dimension onto it. Okay, so do extruded cut through all, and that's that. I'll pop the little fillets while I'm there on. So in my features, do a couple of feature fillets, and rather 10 mil radius. So pop these two 10 mil radius fillets on, and that's that. Then pop up and do this sketch on the top plane. Now, a couple of ways you can kind of do this cutout at the side. Do it sort of a little bit differently. Again, look, I'll just use convert entities for the bottom line just to kind of have you practice in doing it. Okay, so then if I just draw a line from here and come up here, it goes up 30, but you can see that 30 mil is also actually the midpoint of that line. Because it's 70 long and we have a 10 mil radius, this line is now 60 long, so the midpoint of that is where this is going to land. If you don't want that to be so, I mean, if you pop that relation in, it's going to, if I double click, it fully defines that line at a midpoint relation. Okay, so that's one to kind of watch out for. If I delete that line, if you don't want it to be so, what you have to do is you have to deliberately make it shorter, and we'll pop a dimension on that later stage, so that you've got a dimension, and it's not always tied to the midpoint of that. Because if you have that tied to the midpoint of that, and you change the fillet, simple kind of thing, you might kind of say, oh, I'll make that fillet a little bit bigger. and then you don't kind of pay attention that it's going to actually affect this, that's going to cause you a few problems. So these running relations, if you like, are good, but sometimes it can kind of cause you a little bit of grief. So you kind of need to be aware of when you're accepting a relation as well. So I kind of popped in, just like your own relations. Just have to. There's times when you want them and times when you don't need them. Sorry, personal problems. Here we go. So pop back up here and back down again, and back down to that end. So something like that. Now we'll pop in our dimensions. Okay. Now, let's say we do want relations, and I don't want to kind of scare you off relations altogether, because let's say this line and this line should always be equal. Should always be the same length. So there you go. We'll pop that in. Now I'll pop in a few dimensions. So we said this is going to be 30. Still throws it down to there, but doesn't give us that issue if we ever change it. So this dimension is then going to be 10. You see it's 10 in that. And this dimension is kind of given to me as 20 from there to there. So we'll kind of keep it the same as the drawing in the book. And then these two, and instead of putting a dimension on there, what we'll do is we'll do a little relation then on that one. So select that line and that line and do a little collinear relation on that. Okay. So isometric that. Fully defined now. And exit my sketch. And am I doing extruding this one up a distance of 20, isn't it? Yeah, that's okay. So it gives me that. And now if I just pop on this sketch here, go normal 2, and we're going from here to here. Now, sometimes you may like to change it into hidden mode so you can actually get at that little point. So when I'm drawing my line here, go from here to that point. So let's say we always wanted that relation to be so, and I've drawn a single line through that. Okay. Okay, so if I just finish this off by popping in those other two lines, close that feature, and exit my sketch, and extrude cut. And you can see that extrude cut. Now, this time we can do a few different things. Let's start introducing a few other little commands. We could, you can see currently it's kind of going to do, and I'm going to, pop it back into my mode that you can kind of see it. So currently it's going to go to the sort of halfway point because we have a 20 blind cut through. You could keep it at that, it would work fine. But it's nice to kind of explore some of the other little options here in the depth of this extruded cut. So you got here through all. Well, we don't go through all because it just kind of whip that corner off both sides, so we don't want to do that. You got up to next, which brings it up to the next surface. Or you could go up to surface. So if you wanted to select a surface, it'll let you go up to surface. But up to next will do us fine. So that means it'll, no matter what width we make that, it'll always cut that little corner piece off that, just like that. Okay, so that's that second one, SOLIDWORKS Education Lesson 2. If I give you the properties of that, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. 62.858 grams, and that's the center of mass, depending where you started it again.